Jarek stepped off the shuttle onto the gleaming surface of the Lissari orbital station, feeling the vibration of the massive structure beneath his boots. The station was enormous, a floating city of silver towers and curved bridges, all orbiting a gas giant whose swirling blue storms were visible even from this height. From every angle, the station shone like a jewel in space, reflecting light from distant stars. Jarek had seen many wonders in his travels as a trader, but nothing quite like this. Despite the marvel, he felt a pang of unease. The Lissari were known across the galaxy for their elegance, their precision, and their pride in every detail of life. To them, humans were a curiosity at best, a primitive species at worst. Jarek knew this. He had been warned before arrival. You will be mocked, maybe laughed at. Do not respond with anger. Be calm. Observe. He clutched the strap of his satchel, inside which rested the rare minerals he had mined on his homeworld. The entrance to the main chamber of the station was a masterpiece. Smooth, translucent panels formed archways that glowed faintly with bioluminescent veins. The Lissari moved with an effortless grace, their elongated limbs and finely scaled skin catching the light in colors Jarek could not name. They paused as he entered, some whispering, some staring with curiosity. He noticed the glint of amusement in their eyes. He did not flinch. At the center of the chamber, surrounded by polished floors that reflected their forms, stood Princess Alira. Her presence was commanding, impossible to ignore. Her eyes, a shade of violet deeper than the storms of the gas giant below, scanned the crowd with sharp intelligence. When her gaze settled on Jarek, it was as though she had found a particularly amusing insect on the floor. "Ah," she said, her voice musical but edged with mockery. "A human. From the colonies that barely scrape existence on rock worlds. Tell me, little man, do you know why you are here?" Jarek bowed slightly, careful to show respect without appearing subservient. "To trade with your people, princess," he said, his voice steady despite the tension, "and to offer rare minerals that may benefit your station." Her laugh rang through the chamber, crisp and cold, as if its contents were insignificant. "Do you know what we deal with here, human? Weapons of psychic energy, bio-forged metals, technology older than your species itself. And you bring stones?" Whispers rippled through the crowd. Some observers laughed quietly. Others tilted their heads, curious about how this human would respond. Jarek's jaw tightened. He had expected mockery, but Alira's arrogance was sharper than he had anticipated. Yet he did not falter. "These minerals are rare," he said evenly. "They have properties that even your advanced systems may find difficult to replicate. They are small now, perhaps, but they have value. If given the chance, they could prove their worth." The princess raised an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed. "Value?" she repeated, almost as if tasting a foreign word. "Very well. Perhaps a demonstration is in order." She turned to a nearby officer, speaking rapidly in the Lissari language. The officer nodded and tapped a panel, and a platform rose from the floor, shining with a field of energy. "This," Alira announced, "is the ceremonial exhibition. All traders are invited to display their weapons. It is a tradition that shows not only skill but the worth of one's species. Bring forth your arms, human. Let us see if you are truly as harmless as you appear." Jarek's hand brushed the hilt of his sword, the simple human-forged blade he carried at his side. It was a modest weapon, made of steel from his homeworld, unadorned, unenchanted, with a history he would not disclose. Among the Lissari, it was laughably primitive. He lifted it, letting the light fall on the blade. He could feel the gaze of Alira drilling into him, sizing him up. The princess's lips curved into a smirk. "A sword," she said, loud enough for the surrounding nobles to hear. "Do you know how quaint, human? In our hands, such tools are toys. Perhaps you can swing it and amuse us." He stepped onto the platform, feeling the hum of the energy field beneath his feet. He knew that today he was not just a trader. He was a representative of humanity. Fragile, yet resilient. Every eye in the chamber was upon him, many filled with amusement, some with doubt, a few with curiosity. "Do you not fear this display?" asked a Lissari observer beside him, her skin a soft shade of gold. "Few humans dare step into the ceremonial arena. It is known that none survive without humiliation." Jarek shook his head. "Fear is for those who have no confidence in themselves. I have learned to trust in my skill, however simple it may appear. And I have learned that a true test is never about the weapon alone, but how it is used." The princess clapped her hands lightly, a sound like the delicate ringing of crystal. "Very well. Let us begin." She raised her own weapon, a blade that shimmered with bioelectric energy, its edge glowing faintly. She moved with a fluid precision that would have been mesmerizing if not intimidating. Jarek raised his sword, keeping his stance low, his movements deliberate. The court gasped. To them, his technique was clumsy, a stark contrast to their engineered grace, but Jarek knew that speed alone was not the answer. In human combat, adaptability, instinct, and unpredictability were often more valuable than perfection. Alira advanced, striking with a rapid series of precise slashes. Each move was calculated to test him, to expose any weakness. Jarek blocked, parried, and dodged where he could, using angles and timing rather than strength. He felt the tension in the air, the collective anticipation of the court. The hum of the energy field made his sword feel lighter, sharper, almost alive in his hands. As the duel continued, a subtle change occurred. The sword began to respond to his movements in ways he had never noticed before. It seemed to resonate with the platform beneath him, absorbing a small fraction of the energy. He could not explain it, but he instinctively adjusted his swings, feeling his reflexes sharpen. Alira paused, her violet eyes narrowing. "Interesting," she murmured, more to herself than to anyone else. Her strikes became more cautious, and for the first time, a hint of uncertainty touched her expression. The crowd leaned forward, sensing a shift. The simple human was not as helpless as they had assumed. Whispers of disbelief spread through the chamber. Jarek's movements, though not elegant by Lissari standards, were effective. He adapted to every strike, finding openings where none seemed to exist. Finally, he stepped back, lowering his sword slightly, and bowed. "That is all I will show for now," he said quietly. His words carried weight, not arrogance, but a quiet confidence that unsettled even the princess. Alira studied him, her laughter now subdued, replaced by curiosity. She realized that her initial judgment had been premature. She said, tilting her head. "You are more resilient than I expected. Perhaps there is more to humans than their appearance suggests." Jarek nodded politely. "Humans often surprise those who underestimate us. That is not a boast. It is simply how we endure." The princess regarded him for a long moment, then turned to the court. "Let it be known," she announced, "that the human is not entirely without merit, but do not mistake caution for skill, nor patience for weakness. We shall see what more this species can reveal." The platform lowered, and Jarek stepped off. The court dispersed slowly, some whispering, some still laughing. But a subtle respect had begun to take root. Even among a species that prided itself on superiority, the human had made an impression. Jarek walked to the edge of the chamber, looking out at the swirling storms of the gas giant below. He allowed himself a small, private smile. The journey was far from over, and he knew that the true test was yet to come. But for the first time on this station, he felt that human ingenuity, the ability to adapt, to endure, to think differently, had a place among the stars. He turned back to the princess, who was watching him with a mixture of amusement and calculation. Their eyes met for a moment, unspoken understanding passing between them. Neither would forget this encounter, and as the lights of the station reflected on his sword, Jarek knew that the day was not just about surviving the mockery, it was about showing, in a subtle way, that humans were far more than they appeared to be. The real duel, the one that would reveal who he truly was, had only just begun. The next morning, the station buzzed with activity. Traders, nobles, and scholars moved through the wide corridors, their conversations filled with speculation about the human who had not only survived the ceremonial display but had done so with surprising skill. Jarek moved among them quietly, his senses alert. Every glance, every whisper, reminded him that he was an outsider, a simple human among a species that had perfected elegance and precision. Yet, he also knew that this was exactly the stage upon which human ingenuity could shine. Princess Elira, perched on a balcony overlooking the central chamber, watched him move. Her violet eyes were sharp, calculating, and her amusement had not faded. She had expected him to be clumsy, perhaps fearful, certainly outmatched. Instead, he had demonstrated patience, adaptability, and a calm confidence that unsettled her. She leaned forward, resting her chin on her hand, and considered the next step. By midday, the word had spread. There would be a duel. Not a ceremonial demonstration, but a true test of skill. Elira had sent word through her officers, challenging Jarek to a duel with her favored weapon, a blade infused with psychic energy, capable of anticipating the wielder's movements to a degree. Many believed it was impossible for a human to survive against such a weapon. Jarek, however, accepted without hesitation. As he prepared, Jarek studied his sword. Its simple steel gleamed in the artificial light, ordinary to any Lissari eye. Yet he felt a subtle connection to it that he could not explain. Over the years, he had learned to trust his instincts, to sense the weight, balance, and timing of a weapon. This sword, humble as it was, had saved him more times than he could count. Today, it might need to save more than just his life. It might need to prove that humanity itself could not be dismissed. The duel was set in a large arena within the station, a circular platform suspended above the main chamber. The floor was reinforced with energy fields to absorb impact, and the walls were transparent, giving the audience a clear view of the combat. Hundreds of Lissari had gathered, and their anticipation filled the air. There was laughter, doubt, curiosity, and, in some corners, the flicker of genuine respect. Jarek stepped onto the platform first, adjusting the grip on his sword. He felt the tension in his shoulders, the quickening of his pulse. But no fear. Fear was a luxury he could not afford. Focus was all that mattered. Across the platform, Elira appeared. Her movements fluid, precise, almost hypnotic. The psychic energy in her blade shimmered faintly, reflecting her control over it. The duel began. Elira struck first, her movements fast and calculated, each swing designed to test his defenses. To exploit any hesitation, Jarek blocked where he could, parried where necessary, and dodged in a way that seemed unconventional to the Lissari spectators. His style was chaotic to their eyes, but each step was intentional. He relied not on perfection but on creativity, on observing patterns, and finding moments when he could exploit them. At first, the crowd laughed quietly. Surely, they thought, the human could not survive long against the princess's superior skill. But slowly, murmurs of surprise began to spread. Jarek was not only surviving, he was adapting. Where the princess expected hesitation, he acted instinctively. Where her weapon anticipated movement, he adjusted in real time, exploiting small imperfections. Elira's eyes narrowed. Interesting, she murmured under her breath. The energy around her blade seemed to flicker. As if reacting to his unpredictability, she increased the speed of her strikes, testing the limits of his human reflexes. Yet, Jarek moved with a quiet determination. His movements simple but effective, each one carefully measured. The duel continued, each strike ringing against the other, sparks dancing where steel met energy. Jarek felt the rhythm of the fight, sensing small shifts in the energy field beneath the platform. His sword, ordinary as it appeared, seemed to hum in response, almost guiding his hand. It was subtle, but enough to enhance his reflexes, enough to allow him to anticipate the next strike before it came. The crowd gasped when Jarek dodged a particularly fast lunge, his sword swinging in a perfect arc to deflect the attack. Even the most skeptical spectators leaned forward. The human was not just surviving, he was demonstrating something they had not seen before: creativity, adaptability, courage, and a refusal to submit. Traits that no algorithm, no psychic blade, and no engineered skill could fully anticipate. Elira's frustration grew. She had underestimated him, and now her arrogance was confronted with the unexpected. She pressed harder, her movements faster, more complex, but each attempt to predict his response was met with human ingenuity. He adjusted angles, feigned weakness, and exploited her reliance on pattern recognition. Each block and dodge was a calculated response. Yet it appeared instinctive, unpredictable, even artful in its simplicity. As the duel progressed, something remarkable began to happen. Jarek's sword seemed to resonate with the energy field of the platform. Sparks of light traced along its edge, subtle at first, then more pronounced. He felt a surge of focus, a heightened awareness of his own movements, the space around him, and even the timing of Elira's strikes. It was as if the sword itself were alive, responding only to him. Elira noticed it too. Her violet eyes widened in surprise as the sword's edge deflected a blow that should have overwhelmed him. For the first time, she felt a flicker of caution. The human was no longer merely surviving, he was shaping the battle on his own terms. The arena fell silent, the spectators captivated. Even the officers and nobles who had doubted him could not look away. Every swing, every step, every subtle pivot demonstrated the essence of human ingenuity. A combination of adaptability, courage, and the willingness to improvise when faced with superior technology. Jarek pressed forward, not with arrogance, but with precision. Each movement was designed to challenge her, to create openings, to test the limits of her skill. Elira parried fiercely, but the unpredictability of his attacks forced her to hesitate, to reconsider each move. She realized, with growing astonishment, that no amount of training or technology could fully anticipate the human mind. Minutes passed, feeling like hours. The duel was no longer just a contest of weapons. It was a demonstration of human potential. Jarek moved with determination, his eyes steady, his focus absolute. He was a simple human with a simple sword, yet he carried within him the unpredictability that made humans capable of surviving, of thriving, even in the most hostile conditions. Finally, a critical moment arrived. Elira launched a strike meant to overwhelm him completely. A flurry of psychic energy that would have incapacitated any opponent. Jarek, sensing the rhythm, stepped aside with a subtle shift of weight, swinging his sword in a precise arc that deflected the attack. The energy ricocheted harmlessly into the floor, and the princess's eyes widened in disbelief. The platform hummed, the sword's subtle glow intensifying. Jarek felt the connection, the resonance, and moved with fluid grace, not because of training but because of instinct, observation, and trust in himself. Elira, for all her skill, could not predict his next move. The crowd erupted in astonishment. The human had done the impossible. Breathing steadily, Jarek lowered his sword slightly, signaling that he was done, at least for now. He bowed deeply, showing respect without arrogance. "That is enough," he said quietly. "A test is not always about defeating the other, but about demonstrating what can be done when one adapts, perseveres, and trusts in their abilities." Elira's hand dropped, her blade still glowing faintly. Silence filled the arena as she processed what had just occurred. She had expected to humiliate a human. Instead, she had witnessed a demonstration of human creativity and adaptability that challenged her assumptions. Slowly, she inclined her head, acknowledging him. Not with words yet, but with respect. The spectators whispered among themselves, some in awe, others in disbelief. Humans, they realized, were far more than their simple appearance suggested. The unpredictability of the species, combined with courage and ingenuity, could not be engineered or simulated. It was raw, organic, and powerful, in a way the Lissari had underestimated. Jarek stepped off the platform, his movements calm, composed. He had survived, but more importantly, he had shown that humans, even simple humans from distant colonies, could stand alongside the most advanced species in the galaxy. The duel had not just been about skill, it had been a revelation. Princess Elira remained on the platform for a moment, her violet eyes fixed on him. She had been humbled, intrigued, and perhaps, for the first time, genuinely curious about what else humanity might be capable of. This human, simple though he appeared, had shown a spark that no technology or training could suppress. As Jarek walked toward the exit, the whispers followed him. Some called him clever, others lucky. But all sensed something extraordinary, and Jarek, though aware of the impact he had made, remained humble. He knew that this was only the beginning. The true test, the one that would reveal the deeper power of humanity, had yet to come. He paused for a moment, glancing back at the platform and the princess, who was now watching him with something new in her expression: respect, curiosity, and perhaps a hint of admiration. For the first time, the Lissari might understand that humans were not merely simple creatures to mock. They were unpredictable, resilient, and capable of triumph in ways that technology could not fully anticipate. Jarek's hand brushed the hilt of his sword, feeling the subtle hum of energy, a promise of what was yet to come. The duel had ended, but the story of human ingenuity among the stars had only just begun. The duel had ended, yet the station remained abuzz with whispers and speculation. Jarek walked through the corridors, his sword at his side, feeling the subtle resonance that still hummed within the metal. It was as if the weapon itself had recognized something in him, a human instinct, a spark of creativity that no artificial intelligence or psychic system could replicate. The Lissari had witnessed a simple human defy expectation, but Jarek knew that his true challenge had only just begun. Princess Elira watched him from the balcony of the main chamber, her violet eyes sharp and thoughtful. She had underestimated humans, and the revelation had left a strange mixture of frustration and admiration within her. The court had expected a display of incompetence, a spectacle to confirm their superiority. Instead, Jarek had survived, adapted, and even subtly challenged the assumptions upon which their society prided itself. The next day, Elira requested a private audience with him. It was unusual for the princess to invite a human into her chambers. Yet curiosity had overcome her pride. When Jarek arrived, the room was bathed in the soft glow of artificial sunlight filtered through transparent panels. Exotic plants lined the walls, their colors shifting with gentle bioluminescence. Elira sat on a low platform, her posture relaxed but alert, as if preparing to study him as much as converse with him. "You surprised me yesterday," she said quietly. "I expected a human to falter, to embarrass himself. Instead, you adapted. You used the sword in ways I had not imagined, even responding to my strikes that should have been predictable. Tell me, how did you do it?" Jarek lowered his head respectfully. "I do not claim any magic, princess. I observe, I adapt, and I trust my instincts. The sword is a tool, but it is only effective when its wielder understands timing, pattern, and opportunity. These are simple things, perhaps, but often overlooked by those who rely too much on power or design." Elira studied him closely, her gaze lingering on his hands, his stance, the way he carried himself. "And yet," she murmured, "there is something more. The sword, it responded to you. I have never seen that before. No human should be able to wield it like this." Jarek tilted the sword slightly, watching the light play along its edge. "I do not know why it responds, but I feel it does. Perhaps it is aligned to the instincts of those who can think and act with both courage and adaptability. Perhaps it recognizes what I have learned to trust in myself." The princess leaned forward, curiosity replacing mockery. "You have skill, human, but skill alone is not enough to challenge my people's expectations. Can you prove it further?" Jarek nodded. "If a test is required, I am ready. But know that I seek no glory for myself. only to show what humans can do when underestimated. Elira's smile was faint but genuine. Very well. There is an obstacle in the outer section of the station, a training chamber designed for advanced Lissari warriors. It contains simulations, moving targets, traps, and energy challenges. Few have completed it without serious injury. I want to see if you can navigate it. Jarek accepted the challenge. As they walked through the corridors toward the outer section, he observed the station more closely than before. The Lissari were masters of engineering, their technology advanced, precise, and elegant. But he noticed one pattern. Their systems often relied on repetition and predictability. Jarek intended to exploit that. The training chamber was immense. Walls shifted, platforms moved, and energy barriers flashed intermittently. Robotic targets simulated Lissari combat techniques, some striking with precision, others with unpredictable speed. The room was designed to overwhelm, to test reflexes, intelligence, and endurance. Most would falter within minutes. Jarek stepped inside, adjusting his grip on the sword. He observed the rhythm of the traps and targets, analyzing their timing. Unlike the Lissari, who often relied on programmed responses or psychic foresight, Jarek relied on observation, intuition, and adaptation. The sword felt alive in his hands, humming faintly as if acknowledging his intentions. The first set of energy barriers fired toward him. He ducked, rolled, and deflected the barriers with precise swings of his blade. Sparks flew as steel met energy, and the sword seemed to absorb and redirect a fraction of the force. He advanced, moving steadily through the chamber, always adapting to each new challenge. Robotic combatants lunged at him, striking with the precision of trained Lissari warriors. Jarek sidestepped, parried, and improvised, using his environment to his advantage. When a platform shifted beneath his feet, he used it to vault over a target, swinging his sword in a wide arc that neutralized multiple attacks at once. Each movement was simple, yet effective, demonstrating an instinctual understanding that no machine could replicate. Elira observed from a control balcony, her eyes widening with each passing moment. The human was not merely surviving, he was excelling. Where her simulations had expected failure, he improvised, creating opportunities where none should have existed. She could not mask her growing respect. Minutes turned into hours, and the chamber grew more complex. Traps became faster, energy fields more erratic, and robotic targets more aggressive. Yet Jarek pressed on. Each step calculated, each strike intentional. The sword continued to respond to him, amplifying his reflexes, guiding his movements subtly, and helping him navigate challenges that would have defeated any other human, or perhaps even a Lissari. Finally, Jarek reached the center of the chamber, where the final test awaited, a massive energy construct, a simulated guardian designed to replicate the strength and precision of a full Lissari battalion. It was enormous, with limbs moving faster than the eye could follow, and weapons glowing with deadly energy. He took a deep breath, centering himself. Fear was absent. Confidence was present, tempered with caution and awareness. The sword hummed in his hands, responding to his thoughts and instincts. He had trained his mind and body for moments like this, and now his ingenuity would be tested fully. The construct attacked, swinging massive limbs with incredible speed. Jarek dodged, rolled, and countered, each movement calculated to exploit weaknesses in its pattern. Where the construct anticipated a strike, he feinted. Where it expected hesitation, he acted decisively. The sword met energy with steel, sparks scattering, and the hum of the weapon seemed to resonate with his movements, almost as if it were alive. Elira could not look away. The human had become something extraordinary. His movements were not flawless, but they were unpredictable, creative, and effective. Each strike, each dodge, each decision demonstrated a combination of intelligence and instinct that no machine or engineered skill could fully anticipate. As the battle reached its climax, Jarek found an opening. The construct shifted too far, overextending in a move designed to crush him. He struck, precise and deliberate, and the sword connected with the energy core, sending a surge of light across the chamber. The construct halted, sparks fading, and collapsed into a harmless heap. Silence followed. The chamber, the observers, even the princess, were stunned. The human had completed the impossible. He had navigated every obstacle, countered every challenge, and overcome a construct designed to simulate an entire battalion. And he had done it with a simple sword and the unpredictability of his mind. Illyra descended to the chamber floor, approaching Jarek slowly. Her eyes were bright with curiosity and newfound respect. "You have done more than survive," she said softly. "You have proven that human ingenuity is not something to dismiss lightly. Your sword, it seems to respond only to your will, your instincts. I have never seen anything like it." Jarek bowed, feeling neither pride nor arrogance. "The sword is a tool, Princess, but it is only as effective as the wielder. Humans have learned to adapt, to improvise, and to endure. We may be simple in appearance, but we are capable of far more than most believe." Illyra studied him, silent for a long moment. Then she nodded, her tone firm but sincere. "Then I must acknowledge it. You have shown that humans are unpredictable, resilient, and capable of triumph where others fail. This is a lesson I will not forget." Jarek smiled faintly, the first real smile of ease since arriving on the station. "That is all I hope to show. Not for glory, not for pride, but to remind those who underestimate us that humans have a strength all our own. It is not in our technology alone, but in our courage, our creativity, and our determination." The princess extended her hand, an unspoken gesture of respect. Jarek took it, sealing a moment that would change perceptions of humanity forever. Around them, the station began to murmur, whispers of astonishment spreading rapidly. Humans had been underestimated for centuries, but today, one simple human had proven that ingenuity and adaptability were weapons no species could predict. And as Jarek stepped back, holding his sword with quiet reverence, he felt a sense of purpose. The journey was far from over. The sword had revealed a fraction of its power. The princess had acknowledged the skill of humanity, and the galaxy had begun to take notice. What came next would be even greater, for humans were capable of more than anyone could yet imagine. Jarek left the training chamber with a quiet confidence. The resonance of his sword still hummed faintly, a subtle reminder that it was no ordinary weapon. He knew that the duel, the trials, and the challenges had only been the beginning. Humanity's true strength lay not in technology or appearance, but in adaptability, ingenuity, and courage, the qualities that had carried him this far. Now, it was time to show the galaxy, and Princess Illyra, what humans were truly capable of. The station buzzed with anticipation. Word of the human who had survived, adapted, and mastered challenges designed for the most elite Lissari warriors spread quickly. Traders, nobles, and scholars alike crowded the central chamber to witness what they assumed would be a further display, though none knew exactly what to expect. Jarek arrived quietly, his sword at his side, standing taller and calmer than ever before. Princess Illyra watched him from her platform, her expression unreadable. There was respect in her gaze now, but also a subtle challenge. She knew that humans were clever, resilient, and unpredictable. But she wondered if even that unpredictability could match the tests she had prepared. Her violet eyes followed Jarek as he moved to the center of the chamber. "Human," she called, her voice carrying through the room. "You have proven skill, endurance, and ingenuity. Yet here you stand, before the most complex challenge this station can offer. Will you succeed where others fail, and show the full measure of your species?" Jarek nodded calmly. "I do not seek to prove my own worth, Princess. I seek only to demonstrate that humans are capable of far more than many believe. The rest, I leave to your judgment." The chamber shifted. Walls rose and fell, platforms slid into place, and energy fields activated in intricate patterns. The final trial was unlike anything Jarek had faced before, a vast obstacle course combining traps, robotic adversaries, and energy constructs designed to test both mind and body simultaneously. The challenge was monumental, almost designed to break even the most skilled Lissari warriors. He took a deep breath, centering himself. The sword hummed faintly, and he felt a surge of clarity. Instinct, observation, and courage guided him. Step by step, he moved through the course, avoiding energy blasts, dismantling obstacles, and deflecting strikes with precise swings of his sword. The simple steel in his hands seemed to respond to him, amplifying reflexes in subtle, almost imperceptible ways. Every obstacle was a puzzle. Every adversary, a test. Jarek relied on creativity rather than brute strength. Improvisation rather than repetition. He used the environment to his advantage, drawing on human intuition and unpredictability. Where a Lissari would rely on perfect form, he relied on instinct. Where a machine calculated precision, he relied on adaptation. Each step forward demonstrated qualities that could not be replicated, engineered, or foreseen. The spectators watched in awe as Jarek moved through the trial. His motions were not flawless, but they were effective, deliberate, and human. He turned near misses into opportunities, dodged impossible attacks, and used his sword to neutralize threats that seemed insurmountable. With each swing, each maneuver, he showcased the essence of humanity, resourcefulness, resilience, and courage. Halfway through the course, a particularly complex sequence of obstacles required him to leap across floating platforms while dodging energy beams that shifted unpredictably. Jarek hesitated for a moment, gauging timing, rhythm, and momentum. Then, with a calculated leap, he propelled himself forward, twisting mid-air, and struck his sword against a beam generator. Sparks flew, energy arcs flared, and the sequence completed successfully. The audience gasped. Princess Elira's eyes widened. She had expected failure, yet here was the human not only surviving but excelling. Every instinct, every decision, every movement reinforced a single truth. Human ingenuity could overcome even the most complex challenges. For the first time, she felt a profound admiration for a species she had once considered primitive. As he reached the final segment of the trial, a massive energy construct emerged, larger and more powerful than any previous opponent. Its limbs moved with incredible speed, its weapons glowing with lethal energy. Many Lissari warriors had tried and failed against this construct, their skill and technology insufficient to match its power. Jarek, however, was undeterred. He observed the construct carefully, noting the pattern in its strikes. Its energy projected in arcs and pulses, designed to overwhelm any opponent. But Jarek relied on adaptation, improvisation, and the subtle guidance of his sword. He moved fluidly, dodging attacks that would have ended any ordinary being. He struck when opportunity arose, using the construct's own momentum against it. The duel reached its climax as the construct lunged with a sweeping strike, intending to crush him. Jarek, anticipating the move, rolled to the side and drove his sword into a joint of the construct. A surge of energy coursed through the chamber as the construct faltered, sparks flying, systems failing. The audience erupted, witnessing what no one had believed possible. Jarek held his sword steady, his chest heaving, sweat glistening on his brow. He did not shout, did not boast. He had completed the impossible, not for glory, but to show the truth of his species. Humans, though simple in appearance, were capable of creativity, resilience, and adaptability unmatched by even the most advanced designs. Princess Elira descended to the chamber floor, her violet eyes fixed on him. She approached cautiously, her expression a mixture of respect, wonder, and admiration. "You have done more than succeed," she said softly. "You have shown that humans cannot be judged by appearance or technology alone. Your courage, creativity, and adaptability are extraordinary." Jarek bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Princess. I have only done what humans have always done: adapt, survive, and overcome. We are not the most elegant, nor the most technologically advanced, but we are capable of more than many realize. That is all I wish to demonstrate." Elira studied him for a long moment, then extended her hand. "Then I offer respect, not as a courtesy, but as recognition. You have earned it." Jarek took her hand, a silent acknowledgement of triumph and mutual understanding. Around them, the station's inhabitants murmured, some with astonishment, others with admiration. Humans had always been underestimated. But now, one simple human had proven that ingenuity, courage, and resilience could triumph over the most advanced technology and skill. The lesson was clear: never underestimate humanity. The sword in Jarek's hand pulsed faintly, as if acknowledging the completion of its purpose for the moment. It had revealed its hidden potential, aligned with a wielder capable of creativity, courage, and instinct. It was a reminder that true power lay not in the weapon itself, but in the mind and heart of the one who wielded it. Illyra led Jarek to a balcony overlooking the station, her gaze distant as she considered what had occurred. "You have changed the way we view humans," she said thoughtfully. "Your skill, your strategy, your ability to adapt, it is unlike anything we have seen. Perhaps we have been blind to your potential all along." Jarek looked out at the gas giant swirling below, its storms mirrored by the patterns of stars beyond. "Humans have always survived, Princess. We endure because we adapt, because we are unpredictable, because we trust ourselves even when others doubt us. That is the true strength of our species." Illyra nodded, her eyes reflecting a mixture of humility and admiration. "Then let it be known," she said, addressing the court and the station, "that humans are not to be underestimated. They are clever, adaptable, and capable of feats we had never imagined. Today, one human has shown us all the truth of his species." The chamber erupted in applause and murmurs of approval. Jarek remained calm, but he felt the weight of recognition settle upon him. It was not about personal glory, but about what humanity represented: ingenuity, resilience, and the capacity to rise above expectation. As the crowd dispersed, Jarek felt a sense of calm satisfaction. The trials were complete, the message delivered, and humanity's place in the galaxy slightly clearer. The sword, once simple steel, had become a symbol of human potential, responsive to a mind capable of creativity and courage. Princess Illyra watched him silently, a small smile forming. She had been humbled, impressed, and challenged by a human she had once mocked. The lesson was clear, and she would not forget it. Humans, she realized, were not merely simple creatures. They were a force of ingenuity, unpredictability, and resilience, capable of triumph where others would fail. Jarek turned, holding the sword lightly, its faint hum a reminder of the journey completed. The trials had tested his skill, his mind, and his spirit. He had demonstrated the strength of humanity, not through arrogance, but through persistence, creativity, and courage. The galaxy had begun to take notice, and the message was unmistakable: never underestimate a human. And as the gas giant swirled beneath the station, casting blue shadows across the deck, Jarek knew that this was only the beginning. Humanity had been underestimated for centuries. But now, even in the heart of alien sophistication, one simple human had proven that courage, ingenuity, and resilience could change perceptions, and perhaps change the course of the future. The sword pulsed one final time in his hands, as if acknowledging its wielder's triumph. Jarek sheathed it with care, feeling the weight of responsibility that came with proving humanity's worth. Today, a simple human had shown the galaxy that cleverness, courage, and heart were weapons no one could anticipate. And the stars themselves seemed to shimmer in recognition of that truth.